I'm Claire Douglas from York Learning. I manage the visual arts and the modern languages curriculum, and we've been using Padlet this year. And I'd like to introduce Kim.
Hi, my name is Kim Simpson. I'm lead ICT tutor for York Learning. I'm going to show you a little bit about how to set up Padlet from scratch and how to upload things to it to make it more usable. And I'll hand back to Claire for her bit.
And we've been using Padlet to collect learner outcomes above anything else really, especially in the visual arts. It's been a great place to share images and it's been a great place to actually record conversations between tutors and learners and fellow learners. And I will share my screen to describe how we've been doing that. So can you see this, Kim?
Yeah, all good.
Excellent. So this is, we decided quite early on to start using Padlet, especially after one of our painting and drawing tutors had a little demo with it and started to use it with one of her class. We very quickly went ahead and bought a professional license. And once the drawing and painting people, the craft people and the modern languages people had started to use it, other areas started to use it also. So we've now got singing for fun, we've got family learning, we have all sorts of Pilates classes, yoga classes, IAG. There's a lot of use and we've found it exceptionally useful for a variety of reasons. I'll just show you a few Padlets so you can see how they look. I think the reason they were so popular is because they look good in the visual arts. That was just so important. They're very visual. It looks very much like you're using social media. And that is, I think, why it became so popular and it's easy to use. Kim will talk about that in a little while, but it's very, very easy to use. I looked at this Padlet yesterday and it's already changed and the classes have actually stopped running, so it just shows you that people are still using them. So this tutor here, Liz, she has about 5 different classes for me. She has 5 boards. She had 1 board per class, but she does set up a new board, I would say, every half term. Otherwise they can be a little bit difficult to navigate because they can be so large and so image heavy. But the learners just love using them, and you can see here the last few people, 23 minutes ago, 25 minutes ago, Nicola has placed a few outcomes on here, and she's obviously still interacting with what was done in class. You know, Nicola's just written, "Thank you, Liz, for some great ideas and inspirational teaching." So it's almost like, you know, she's still interacting with the board that they were doing in class, even though it finished a few weeks ago. And the learners are still interacting with that. It's very easy to use, very easy to use. You can see here that people like images. So if I wanted to like Nicola's paintings, rather lovely landscape and a rather lovely still life, I can do so. I can also add a comment. Help if I can spell. Just trying to spell Nicola correctly. So I can comment as so. And it's really nice from a curriculum manager's point of view. I don't know if Kim's used this in IT, but it's lovely from a curriculum manager's point of view because I've actually got direct access to the class. I can see how I can see the schemes of work the tutors are using, because they more often than not put something about the structure of the course onto their boards. I can see the work they're using as inspiration. I can see the work the learners are doing. You can see here Liz is having a studio day, a private studio day, where people are going to look at her work and that of other artists. I can see PowerPoints that she has put on. So this is one of her PowerPoints that was the inspiration to one of her classes. And again, you know, that one's on the sea. This one here is on flora. She can outline roughly what they're looking at in the scheme of work and the main PowerPoint to support it. And the beauty is, it just extends options for learners so much, because they've got the class. They obviously love Liz. She's a popular tutor. They study in class, they produce work in class, but then they carry on producing work outside of class. They can access all the resources that they've been using in class outside of class, because they've all got the link to the Padlet board, and it keeps them thoroughly involved. And you can see here, you can track what those same learners have been doing. So you know, this was some months ago, because it says 28 days ago at the top, and there's things here from 2 months ago, because this is the last class that that Liz ran for us. So it's just incredibly easy, and it's great because you can see how all the individual learners, you see these wave pieces here, you can see how they've all responded to the same theme, and you can see how Liz has responded to the learners in written form next to each piece of work. So they've done a piece of work in class. She has verbally commented upon it in class. The learners have shared it immediately to the Padlet board. They can see each other's work. That it's really timely and really quick. Different learners have said how much they like the work. Liz has commented on it, and it gives a much more sort of rounded experience to the class, really. We'll have let's have a quick look at some of the others. Again, this one here was just made for a one-off training session. Actually, we did on Friday with a few members of staff, and it was a photography session. It lasted an hour, and we were taking we were taking photographs, uploading them immediately to the Padlet board and talking about lighting. So it can be that quick. It's very much a hands-on quick resource. You can set up a board, no time at all. All your learner needs is the address along the top here where my cursor is, and that's all you need to send them. There's no login details, there's no passwords you need to remember. It is that simple. Let's have a look at lined jacket. I think we looked at this one on another occasion. You can set them up in loads of different ways. Kim will talk about that. The painting and drawing one we saw a minute ago was set up in a wall format. So every time there's a new entry, it appears at the top of the board. This one, Kate, the dressmaking tutor, has set up in columns, and it helps her because she's doing a different thing every week. She has different resources every week. It's very highly structured because she's teaching dressmaking and pattern cutting. And in this scenario, it's a lined jacket, so she's got everything set up in a weekly column so people can find it really easy. It's less about browsing, it's a little bit more about finding what you need when you need it. So you can see every week has a different focus. Each Padlet board has an area for, even if it's set up more in terms of, you know, giving people information, and there's a PowerPoint every week where Kate's concerned. There's things about where to buy haberdashery and fabric. You know, each group are given the chance to add photos of their work. This one actually possibly isn't the best one to choose because there's less on it than some other ones, but some of them have got more images from learners. So there's one here of a stretch fabric sewing course where most of the learners have put on what they made. So they were making a t-shirt, and it's great. It's like social media. They're taking photographs of themselves. They're writing about how they got on, what they found difficult, what went well. Some learners, that's a before and after image she's put on, you know, and they're given their opinion, you know. they're giving their opinion on what they'd change, what they did differently to somebody else. It's just a great way to and this is, you know, this gives people more information where someone's put something on an article about sewing with stretch fabric that they think is particularly interesting. It just really helps widen the learning experience, and things people have done outside of the session as well. See, people can have a little dialogue.
I think, Claire, just to point out at this point that the great thing about Padlet is it's, you know, during a time when we had no face-to-face classes, where in the face-to-face class you would get the students all interacting with each other, commenting on what everybody was doing, you know, and everybody would share their work and pick up little hints and tips off different people, and you'd get that little hum at the beginning of a class where people would talk about their week and, oh, I went to that shop and bought some fabric, or you know, bought some yarn there or whatever. And that we lost that with all our delivery being online. Padlet enabled us to claw back some of that by students uploading their work and people being able to comment on it. It was a virtual way of being able to still give that peer feedback, which is massively important in all types of courses. That was, I think, one of the lovely things that's come out of using Padlet.
Well, it's like I said in that other drawing and painting class, you know, people are still interacting with the Padlet. Now, I know that class closed some time ago, you know, and it has done that, hasn't it? It's filled that gap, you know, and people will often look at the Padlets in lesson time, you know, and you see there's all sorts of conversations going on here. You know, they look at the work in lesson time and look at it back outside of lesson time. It just gives you so many more options. The you know, there's yoga, there's Pilates, there's information about tutors on there, and this sort of link, you know, which is yoga and Pilates, can be sent to anyone on a yoga and Pilates course, and it can help them decide which course to go on. You know, they learn a bit about the tutor. They feel, I think, like you said, they feel like they're part of a community because it keeps people involved, and that has been a great thing with the online courses. People that maybe couldn't get to a class, whether it was drawing and painting, German, you know, Pilates, anything, whatever it was, people could still feel involved. This is a community arts one, and this was a charity project that we've just done. There's a video from Kate, and it was a lovely. Let's see if we can see any of it. It's just a great place to put your resources, to collect things, to share things, and to reinforce your core objectives for a session, or reinforce the core objections for a project. And in this case, you know, we were making things out of scrap fabric, and it just reminds people that that's what we're doing. It's an eco-friendly project. You're making beautiful things. We're making a quilt to be given to St Leonard's. It's got everything all in one place, and it has done a lot of work for us. Kim, would you like to start talking about maybe how we can produce one of these?
Yeah, if you want to stop sharing your screen, I shall share mine. Lovely.
Do I need to make you host, Kim?
No, it's all right. I'm in. There we go.
Excellent.
Okay, so this is the exact same account that Claire was just looking at. The difference is I'm just looking at a particular folder. So I've set up a little folder called Kim's training folder, because I do Padlet training quite a lot. So I've ended up, currently I've just got the 2 test Padlets, which isn't bad going. There has been many more, believe me. So I'm actually going to show you how to create one from scratch. As Claire said, we bought a license. You don't have to buy a license if you're not going to use it massively. We needed to, in reality. The amount of tutors and courses that we offer, there was no way we could have done without the license. The free version will give you up to 3 active Padlets. What I mean by active is there is a little folder down at the bottom here, you'll notice, called archived. You can archive your Padlets. So you could set up 3 Padlets if you were using the free version, archive all 3 and set up another 3. And you can but you could only have 3 active Padlets at once. So you would have to archive another Padlet in order to bring a third one, sorry, back out of your archive folder, if you see what I mean. So it's only 3 active ones at any one time. But yeah, if you're only going to use it a small amount, then I would certainly look into the free version first. But if you know straight off the bat that you're in a similar position to we are, with lots of courses, lots of tutors, then the license is definitely the way to go. Claire, can you just remember off the top of your head how much the license was per year? You're on mute.
Sorry, I just I'd force a habit just in case. Yeah, I think it was just under £100. It was between 90 and £100, so maybe £98. It was something like that.
And that's
that
for the year.
must have been nearly a year ago, so I don't know if things have gone up. I haven't heard.
Right, no, that's lovely, thank you. Right, so guys, here we go. We're going to click on the pink Make a Padlet button. And then what it does eventually, when it catches up with my click, very slow, is it gives us the option of what layout we want. As you can see, there are 7 layouts available, and it's purely down to you how you set this up. You can change this layout, by the way, afterwards. Once you've created it, if you decide to make it a different layout, you can change it. You know, there's a few more sort of obscure ones, like there's a map here. So if you are, I don't know, if you're a teacher, languages teacher that's talking about places all over the world, that might be really useful because you've got different, or a geography teacher or a history teacher. You know, you can put little posts and dot it all over the map in that one. You've got a timeline, which is quite nice. Again, really useful, I think, for something like history or sort of events. I tend to always stick with these top 4 options, if I'm honest. Stream is exactly as you see it, one long stream down the middle, very much like social media. So people who are already used to scrolling Instagram and Facebook and Twitter will be used to that sort of nice long inline view. However, Shelf, which is the column version that we saw in, I think it was one of the sewing Padlets that Claire showed, where the sewing teacher got week 1, 2, 3, etc. across the top. I have to say I tend to always go for that one because I do set mine out in a very similar way. Not necessarily all in weeks, but you know, I'll have maybe a column of sort of my scheme of work and lesson plans for the students to see, a next one for patterns, or you know, yarn inspiration pictures for when I'm teaching crocheting. That was totally confusing. I teach crocheting as well as IT for York Learning. I don't use Padlet for my IT stuff, I will say that now. I haven't yet found a way to sort of integrate it, because we found through the last year and a half that a lot of our IT courses have not converted well to being delivered online at all. If you've got someone who's very new to computing, trying to teach them how to compute via Zoom is not viable at all. Hence, we've not really needed Padlet for IT classes. But my crochet classes work a treat for it. So yeah, so I set them up in different ways, and then I always like to have a separate column for my students to upload their work as well. But yeah, and any of them, and it gives you a little brief description underneath as well. So I'm just going to stick with my nice stack, my columns, and eventually what it does is it will come up with a basic background, a wonderful title. It throws the titles in automatically, and then like what I call a little wizard on the right hand side here. So this is where we make most of our changes. So the title, we can click in here. Yeah, another test Padlet, a description. This Padlet was made in July. That's not really a great description, but it will certainly do for now. You can choose a little icon, which are all linked to the emojis. What will we pick? Let's pick a bike for whatever reason. Obviously, you would generally pick an icon that was something linked to what the Padlet was about. And then we use a little back arrow at the top here to go back to our main session. Now, this address here, this is the address that you would give to students or to colleagues, depending on what you're using the Padlet for them to access this board. Okay. So you can literally just copy and paste. So you can see, click on the copy to clipboard, then you just go and paste that into an email, into a WhatsApp message, or whatever you've got communicating wise on your computer, paste it in there, and then people can access it. Then we have more options about how it looks. So we can see we've got the corkboard background at the moment. We can choose solid colours. And we've got a nice variety available down here if we just wanted to pick. Let's just pick a sort of a pale background. My only thing is with Padlet, it's done it quite nicely when you pick a solid colour. It just makes it all the way, the heading and the main section. If I go and, for instance, if I pick a texture, so if we have the lovely leaves, it's not done too bad a job with colour at the top, but it will not paste this image, or if I'd have chosen a gradient, up to the top. It will try and pick a colour that kind of goes. Sometimes it gets it right, sometimes it doesn't particularly look great, but I'm quite happy with that. So I'll use this little back arrow to go back to our main section. The colour scheme here, the dark or the light colour scheme, that only works if you've kept a very, very basic sort of wallpaper going on anyway. As soon as you start to pick anything that's got any nice colours, it makes no difference when you click on the dark or the light colour scheme, okay? So if you just wanted to make it more accessible, just bear that in mind. You might want to keep it really plain and just switch to the darker option. I do know colleagues who do that in things like Outlook. You can change the look so you've not got quite such a stark, bright screen to look at. And we can change.
I was just going to mention, Kim, actually, that I meant to mention when I was looking at mine. You'll know, the first image the first board we brought up, the drawing and painting one, had this wonderful abstract painting on that actually is one of the tutors, so they were very much, they weren't really made for accessibility, they were more made for the subject matter of the class, but it is good to know the accessibility angle is covered actually.
Yeah, I mean, it isn't the best, and like I say, it is, if you want in some sort of nice colour background, then you can't sort of switch between. It makes no difference at all. But if you keep it plain, then you can anyway. But yeah, that's literally it for accessibility. I'm afraid it's not brilliant, but it does the job. 4 different font styles, so just how the text will look at the top and within your posts when we start to put them up. And then we have things like attribution. So display author's name above each post. With students, if they are just accessing the Padlet through the link you're giving them, and they don't have an account of their own, it will just simply come up as anonymous. Whereas I don't know whether you noticed, but there were a couple of options, a couple of posts in some of the Padlets Claire was looking at that did have like an account name. So that particular student would have set up their own free Padlet account so that when they come into the class Padlet, as it were, Padlet recognises, oh, you have an account, and puts that account name in there as well. All right, but you can keep it totally anonymous and not switch that on.
Where learners didn't have an account, they were coming up as an anonymous, and then they'd write something and then write their name at the bottom of it if they wanted to be known, so you have got ways around it, haven't you, Kim, if you don't want to set up an account. And
it's one of those things that it's just kind of agreeing the protocol within class, at the beginning of a new course, saying we're starting the Padlet, this is how it's going to work. If you want to upload things, please do. If you want to put your name on it so we know whose it is, etc., etc. Because obviously you don't want to go insisting that everybody creates their own Padlet account just so that it comes up with their account name on every post that they do. But yeah, just sort of asking them to put their name on their post is more than adequate. The next option, new post position. You can see it's as default, it's set to come up last, which means in the layout that I've chosen, that means it'll appear at the bottom. Whereas if I click on first, that means it would appear at the very top. I'll show you a little bit more about that sort of as I start to add things. It sort of makes it more understandable when you can actually see it. Comments, allow viewers to add comments on posts. As standard, that's switched off, so you need to make sure you switch that on. And then we have a reactions section. You have to switch this on. If you want people to be able to either rate the posts, like the posts, then you have to come into reactions here. You can only pick one of these options. So Claire, you did some liking of somebody's post, didn't you? So on that particular Padlet, the tutor that set it up had selected like. You can upvote or downvote. Personally, I don't like this because it's got the negative element. I don't like being able to downvote things. And I don't think in a class environment that's particularly useful. However, we used it in work recently when our head of service was offering us several different versions of our leaflet that we bring out twice a year to advertise that, different options for the front, and we could go in and vote on which one we liked. So you can upvote some, downvote others. But in
that worked quite well, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
We also had a 5 stars. We had the stars.
We've had another one where we've had the stars, and so you can, yeah.
So that for certain things it works brilliantly, and I should think for you know, teaching resources for one-off tasks where you're setting a task and people have to guess the right number or the right answer, that would probably work quite well, especially if it was quite light-hearted, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. There's reasons for using them all. So yeah, as Claire said, there's the star post there, so give things 1 to 5 stars, or number it. You can grade it, give it numeric scores to the post as well. For now, I'm just going to leave mine on none. But yeah, if you're wanting those things to happen, remember to come into reactions and select one of them. Unfortunately, you can only have one method. Then there is a little bit of content filtering. So as the tutor or the owner of the Padlet, I should say, you can have it set that any post being put into your Padlet has to be approved. So if you switch that on, then no post will appear until, say, if it was my Padlet, I'd come in and moderate it and said, yes, that can come up. Personally, I never used that, but then I had quite a tight-knit little class. I guess it's very much dependent on the nature of what the Padlet is for, but it's an option there if you want to moderate things that are coming on. And this one I quite like, filter profanity. So in case people want to type naughty words, it will replace those naughty words with nice little emojis if you switch that option on. And that's all the main stuff for setting it up. And all this is available to come back to. Just because you've set it up once now doesn't mean it's gone forever. You can come back in and make any of those changes. But if I click on the next button top right, and then that's it, I can now start posting. So I'll just click on my little left arrow to get rid of that and close. That little arrow, sorry, that little wizard is available just through my settings button, so the little cog top right, and that will bring that panel back up again so I can go and make any of those changes that I want to. Right, so we've got my first column. So we'll have week 1, week 2, and all I'm doing is typing, and then I'm personally just clicking out with my mouse, clicking across, and you can see it's always got that add column. So I can go and I can add as many columns. You can add as many columns as you need to. If you get sort of wider than your screen that you're developing this on, then you'll just get a scroll bar across the bottom. And your students' view of it will depend on what they're looking at it on, which brings me nicely to the next point. I'm creating this on a laptop. I prefer the web version for creating them. So that's what I mean. So I've gone to padlet.com, logged into our VPA account, and I'm creating it on here. However, for maintaining it, I personally prefer using the app on my phone. So I set it all up on here. Then I downloaded the free Padlet app onto my phone, can be for a tablet as well. And I can modify things on there. I find that easier if for instance, I use it quite a lot if I was doing some crochet work and I wanted to take a quick photograph. It was so much easier to take the photograph on my phone, then use my app on Padlet to quickly upload it, rather than emailing it to myself, opening an email on the laptop, saving that photo somewhere, then coming in and uploading it. So it swings and roundabouts. It's very much a personal preference, but the free app for phones and tablets, very safe. And again, you know, it's all free. What's not to like? Under each column header then, I don't know whether you can see, it doesn't show up very well, little plus sign. I've got the plus signs at the top because I said the new posts would appear at the top of my column. That was one of the things that I'd set in when I did my setting up. So if I click on that new post, First thing it does is give me the option to put a title. Here is a useful video. I could add more text underneath that. Look at this video to learn how to use Padlet. And then I'm actually going to use the little link. So I'm just going to quickly, very briefly run through these. Now we'll come back to some of these. Upload is simply uploading anything from your computer. So if you've got a Word document, an Excel spreadsheet, a photograph, a PDF document, any individual item on your computer, you can upload using that upload button. It's exactly the same as adding an email attachment. You know, your little paperclip button, you click on upload and go and find it on your computer, and then it will upload that document into Padlet. I will come back to that in a little while. But the next one along is a link. I'm going to come back to that because that's what I'm doing for this post. Google, I personally don't ever see a need for using this. This literally just puts in a link to Google to search for things. I haven't found a reason for using this yet, but then my professional use of Padlet for my teaching has been quite limited so far. Other tutors may have found a reason for using that. Snap, so this is a picture. This is the bit I found really useful for when I use the app on my phone. So I can literally come here, start, you know, if I'd open this on my phone or tablet, start a new post, put my text in, my headings in, then click on snap, and straight away my camera on my phone or tablet is activated, so I can take a photograph and straight away it's then put into my post. Okay, but this one I'm going to use link. Okay, so I'll open there and then it asks for the URL. In order to get the URL, I'm going to go to YouTube and wait for my computer to catch up. Getting there. Oh, very slow this afternoon. It must be the heat.
A lot of the language tutors put loads of things, you know, that are easily accessible online on their boards, because obviously they didn't do the image sharing thing. And a lot of them didn't have learners put in any work that they've done in class on the Padlet board. The tutors used the Padlet boards as sort of just a massive folder for everything they were doing in lesson time in a weekly order, and loads of brilliant quizzes online, loads of different learning resources, PowerPoints, little snippets of films. You know, you could have your foreign language films. My Italian tutor Jack had, you know, right at the start of lockdown, did a lovely thing of his 10, you know, his top favorite Italian films, you know, and it was just a really great place to store that information. It's much better in terms of GDPR and that awful thing of trying to email your learners, blind copying everyone in. You'd forget to blind copy them in, then you've got an issue. You know, you just give all your learners the link to your Padlet board and you're away, really. You don't need to communicate with them outside of class in any other way.
No, it's fantastic for that. Right, so searched on YouTube. Padlet have their own channel on YouTube, which is incredibly useful if you're trying to find videos on how to do things. And so if I just go to their videos page, and I could literally pick, so let's have a pick of this one. Basic for educators. So I move over the sort of the little thumbnail, right click, and copy image address. Sorry, no, my mistake. Copy link address. And then I go back to my Padlet where my little URL form is sat waiting, and paste it in there and then click save. And then what it does, we can see straight away that it's pulled through the little thumbnail for that video. So all my learners would have to do is simply, when they open the Padlet, is click on that little image and it will take them straight to the right video on YouTube so that they could watch that little video. So it is immensely useful. It doesn't just work with YouTube, obviously, anywhere on the internet that you're wanting to find. And it doesn't have to be videos either. That little link can be just for a website. So for instance, it might be that, let me just scroll down to my, so I've just clicked on the plus button there, new post. Here is a great website to look at for resources. And then I might simply, I'm using YouTube again, but I'm not directing them to a specific video. This is now just a link to a website. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be YouTube. It might be, so for instance, if it was for some basic IT videos, learnmyway.com, click on save. And then if I scroll down, and then it's just pulled through the link to the Learn My Way website. So it doesn't have to be videos. It can be any website or any web page. And you can literally just copy a web address by hovering up into the address bar at the top of the browser, single clicking it, and then copying it, and then just pasting it into the URL. So that's using URLs, and Padlet very nicely just pulls in nice little images as well to link it. So it makes it look sort of nice and inviting, I think is one of the words to use. So I'll jump across to week 2 now, click on new one, and I'm just going to I'm going to click on the upload button. And then on the right hand side here, it says pick a file. And then wait again for my computer. And as you can see, it is literally just like it is if you were adding an attachment to an email. Okay, so let's have that document there. And it's telling me it's doing it now. Excuse me. I will just add it's not normally this slow. The reason it's this slow is that I'm doing something that's web-based while in Zoom, which is also web-based, so it's a little bit slower. Okay, oh, and this is my nice little photograph of one of my Zoom classes that we used. So yeah, it was just a screenshot that I'd taken and put in a Word document. So that's pulled through. And again, that means now that my students could click on that and it would download to their computer if they wanted to download it and print it off. So if it were instructions, you know, if it were written instructions in a Word document or a PDF document that I was saying, this information is really useful, take this away and read it, you can upload it, and then your students have the choice to either click on it so it opens on screen and they can read it, or they could then download it and print it off if they want to. So that's why the upload is really useful, because you can give your students all these resources. I keep saying students, it doesn't have to just be for a class. This could literally be between a team of tutors sharing information, you know, so it could all just be resources that you found, or you found, you know, a useful website that gives really good hints and tips on delivering whatever subject you deliver. You know, it doesn't have to be just purely for teacher and student classes. It could be for any reason at all. Okay.
We're doing a community arts project at the moment, so I'm dealing with people I don't know all of the time, and it's been immensely useful. And what I didn't do earlier when I was doing my little section was just click on the images, because of course you click on the image. If you click on that image, Kim, you know, you then see that image, oh, double the size, triple the size. And it, in terms of art, when you've got quite a large painting on there, it's great. You know, you can see the painting brilliantly. You can share it in your session. You can share it in multiple meetings with multiple people. It's brilliant like that, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And once you click on it, just to show you can download it, you can open it in a new window or view the full post, or just look at it. If it's a piece of artwork, look at it larger on screen like this, or read it if it was a document to be read. And then when you're finished with it, we've got the little back arrow to the left there, which just closes that version of it and goes straight back into Padlet. So that's kind of the main ways of getting information in there. You can just have it where it is sort of, I just call it like, it's like a sticky note. So if we go to the add new post, and then type something down at the bottom here, read this and understand it before our session next week. And yes, there was a spelling error there. So it doesn't have to always be uploading things. It can just be you typing a little bit of information, just like you're putting a little sticky note onto something to remind your students or colleagues to have a look at something. All right. Now, I'm just going to very quickly show you how to make it look a little less boring, because at the moment, all those posts are really bland. They've all just got, you know, sort of pale backgrounds, and it doesn't look all that pretty. If I hover up to the first one, you hover over any post, it doesn't matter what's in the post, hover over any of them, and you'll get this same little toolbar at the top. You can go in and edit it. So if you've made any errors, you can click around and put them right. Or you can bin it if you no longer need it. You can delete it. Or if we look at the ellipses, so 3 little dots, generally, no matter what website or application you're in, 3 little dots always means more options. You can see we've got delete post and edit poster in here as well. To be honest, most of these you wouldn't really use that much. You can set it as your cover image if you wanted to set it as that. But the main thing that I wanted to show you in here is just simply selecting a background colour. And it seems really something so basic, but it can make the difference between a really engaging looking Padlet and something that just looks really bland. I have a tendency to colour code things, so I did one Padlet. In fact, it was for our staff training a year ago. We produced a Padlet which was lots of online resources, learning resources. So there was lots of quiz websites. There was online learning environments, things like, oh, my mind's going blank now.
I do remember it because it looked great, and there was some sort of sci-fi background or some sort of interstellar outer space background, wasn't it? And it did look brilliant when you opened it up. So for me, as a complete technophobe, this is why I like them. And I like that training one you did, and I really like the art ones, is because they look like a piece of art. Yeah. So that's part of the thing, especially if you've got creative learners or learners that aren't.
And this is it. Techie. You've got to think about your audience. I mean, if you're just doing a little bit in there and then leaving it for students to upload, something like this particular wallpaper, I think isn't suitable because it's way too busy, and it sort of takes over. If you're wanting you know, your students' work to be the main focus of the Padlet, then a really plain background so that the main focus is your students' work. But yeah, it's a very personal choice as to how you want it. What you want it to be used for, how you want it to look, and how you want it to be used by either your group of colleagues or your students. Yeah, it's just, it's not the biggest and most in-depth of websites at all, but it's so incredibly useful and so powerful. I love it.
Great for us. Yeah, I mean, if you want to go back, shall I just finish by just sharing my screen on the inspirations board?
Yeah, just before I finish, just wanted to very quickly go and show you one little thing that I said I would go back to. So we can see we've got the plus button at the bottom of these columns here. If I go back up and click on the cog here and scroll down, so I had new position post last, which is why the plus buttons are at the bottom. If I now change that to be first and save that and then close it, you'll notice my plus buttons have now gone to the top. So it just reverses the order in which you want to do it. Something really simple, but if you have your plus signs at the bottom, some students don't see it. So simply just changing it to be at the top, it makes it a lot more obvious.
Yeah, but yeah, that actually.
That's Padlet in a nutshell. Right, I'll stop sharing, Claire, and then you can take over and finish off.
Yeah, all I was just going to say was sort of reinforce what you just said, really, in terms of being really good for loads of purposes. So we've had our inspirations boards, and actually a few things he said. I mean, I love the art boards because they are so they're so wonderful and colourful, but actually in terms of the exhibition board, this is the main exhibition board we set up not that long ago, and you know, it's all black, it's very simple, it's all GDPR checked. You know, we made sure everyone gave their permission for to use their piece of work, and they uploaded it themselves, so it saved us work. It got the learners to upload their own work, so it increased their IT skills. And in terms of GDPR, it was fantastic, and it meant that we could share this board publicly. So the board, you know, the board went out on social media. It went out in newsletters. We knew we had everyone's permission because everyone had uploaded the images themselves, and it allowed people to comment on the work. So it ticks a lot of boxes, doesn't it, Kim?
It does.
For a variety of different reasons.
This is that dark theme. You know, we were talking about the accessibility with the dark and the light. This is the dark theme. This is what it looks like. So it's just, and it's like I was saying, it's letting the artwork do the speaking.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
It's lovely.
You really notice the actual work, don't you?
Yeah.
Really, I love these sort of these lovely Dutch inspired paintings. But yeah, that's about it. I could spend all day looking at the artwork and take too long over it. So I will stop my share. And yeah, thank you, Kim. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.